It is now 6 o'clock and we'll open the hearing for the Kentucky Valley School District budget hearing on the 2022-23 budget. Please, everyone, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jim Frederickson will be presenting the budget tonight, and I will turn it over to him.
Okay, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jim Frederickson from Sharon. I'm also chairman of the Budget and Property Committee. And before we get into the charts, I just want to let you know where this hearing stands in the whole process. Back last July or August, the board gave Kimberly her guidance in terms of what we wanted to see in the budget. So she went off with her staff for a couple months and came back in November, early November, and presented the first cut at the budget at a Saturday seance with the board. Since that time, the board has reviewed the budget. We've actually voted on several additions to what she presented, which we'll be going over tonight. And tonight we'll be reviewing the budget with you. We haven't voted on it formally and approved it yet as a board, so this is an opportunity after we present tonight for you guys to provide input. After tonight, there's a couple other events. The events that are required to happen is the deliberative session in February at the high school, and then the final vote will be held in March. But between now and then, there's several opportunities to change the budget. After we get inputs from tonight, the board will vote on the budget. We can make changes at that point. Once we can make changes after tonight. Go ahead.
The only changes that you can make to the budget after tonight would be decreasing the budget. If you increase the budget in any way, you would have to have a second public hearing.
So we can make changes tonight. We haven't voted on the budget. The other thing that we've added new to the process this year is on January 25th, I believe the date, and a Tuesday, we're going to have our second community forum. And anybody who's attended the deliberative sessions or even these board meetings, they're kind of formal. It's not as easy to maybe present and have a dialogue with the community. So the primary topic on January 25th is going to be the budget. It'll be a combination of walking you through some more details than we're presenting tonight, and also maybe a little bit educational in terms of how the budget impacts your tax bill, and we're going to try to walk you through all that so that when you do vote, you'll make a maybe more informed decision. So I think that's all I wanted to say right now to start to preface the remarks. So let's go to the next slide then. Okay, before we get into the numbers in this first chart, I wanted to explain what we're showing you, tell you a couple things about it. First of all, it's comparing last year for the current fiscal year, which ends in June, with the proposed budget for next fiscal year, which will start July 1st. And what you're actually going to vote on is the gross budget. This chart includes the operating budget and the gross budget. So we're going to walk through the operating budget tonight, but the gross budget is what you vote on. And that includes costs that we are not really under our management in the district here. The other thing this chart shows you is the bottom line is called the district assessment. And that is what impacts your taxes, what determines how much you pay in taxes. So the difference between the costs and the revenues is the so-called district assessment, okay? We've got a couple different pieces of material, financial articles that are going to be available on the website. And we'll be also walking through this at the community forum to help you understand how you get from the district assessment to your taxes, okay? So the overall operating budget we want to focus on, if we go to the next chart. Now we're talking specifically about the operating budget. And you can see it's a $52 million budget. Gotta put my glasses on to see the small print here. It represents a 2.11% increase of $1 million over the current operating budget. And that is well within the guidelines that basically matches the guidelines we gave Kimberly. If you look at the pie chart on the left-hand side of the chart, you can see the numbers. Salaries and benefits, salaries, wages, and benefits represents approximately 75% of our costs. And that's always been the case and always will be the case. I should note here that the proposed budget does not include any impact of the proposed collective bargaining agreement. We've recently reached agreement with the union for a 3-year contract. Okay, so by law, you have to have the opportunity to vote on that separately. So anything in this budget that we're talking about tonight will be separate from the collective bargaining agreement. That'll be second warrant article you'll be able to vote on. So what do we have included in the package at a high level? The first thing on the list is the expanded pre-K program for $700,000. And that is a continuation of a planned expansion of the pre-K program. We currently have 5 classrooms. We're going to increase it to 8. So we're adding 3 classrooms, and that'll come with associated staff. And we can have some discussion about that in the Q&A session if you want. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more at the community forum too. We've also added a handful of positions. Student information systems position, high school science teacher, high school world language. We've got some money in here for technology replacement. That's Chromebooks and laptop for staff. And then we've got an increase in the transportation budget. So those all add up. You can see, if you add all those up, that's actually more than the increase. So there's some decreases too, which we'll talk about. So if you go to the next chart, if the budget doesn't pass, we have to go to what we call a default budget. And the default budget, the calculation, there's a prescribed manner of calculating what the default will be. And if you can see the numbers in the chart, the default budget is $6,000 more than the current operating budget. So the budget will increase if the proposed budget doesn't pass, but only by $6,000. Another way of looking at it is it will require about $1 million cut in the programs that we've got included in the proposed budget. So hopefully people can see that chart if you're watching from home, and I'll leave it up there for a little bit. And these charts will be available on the board website too, by the way. So if you go to the next chart, and this is a pictorial trying to describe the methodology we use to calculate the default budget. If the budget is not approved, then the board will have to sit down with the administration, and we're going to have to decide what we take out. We haven't done that yet. We haven't really talked about it yet. Hopefully we won't have to do it. But if we do, this is the methodology we would use. And what the series of circles is intended to apply is you cut the stuff you don't need as much as the other stuff first, right? And Kimberly goes through a process where she ranks her programs, puts them in the associated tiers, and we as a board vote on specific line items to cut, and we'll go through that process. And if we do have to cut, it's got to be a combination of staff, programs, facilities, supplies. It's got to come from somewhere, okay? So if you approve the budget, even by 2 votes, we don't have to do that. And everybody remembers last year we had a recount. I think the budget failed to pass by 2 handfuls of votes. We had a recount and found some errors, and it ended up passing by the similar margin, I believe. So next chart. This is an eye test, and this will be in your this will be in your package. And basically, what we're trying to show here, the message here, this is a revenue chart, and the revenue that we get includes local revenue, state revenue, federal revenue. So you add up all your revenue, and you subtract that revenue from your costs, which always exceed the revenue, and the district assessment, what the taxpayers have to make up in property taxes, is what's left over. That's what this chart shows. It shows the details of each line item and the revenues. Next, we start going into some of the details. And again, I think what I'd like you to do is just listen tonight You can ask some questions later. We encourage you to formulate your questions and bring them to the community forum, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them in greater detail, because I think the process tonight is you can make comments, but we're probably not going to be able to have a discussion tonight. So pardon? Right. That's right. There's no public in the room here, so there's no opportunity for people remote. So there won't be any Q&A tonight. I'm sorry. I didn't think of that until just now. So let me run through this. I do encourage you to formulate your questions and bring them to the community forum. So the salaries are down by $86,000. Again, I'm noting here that the proposed 3-year contract is not included. So what you basically do is you assume that all the salaries are not frozen, but there won't be any raises for anybody in position. They won't get what we call a step increase. If somebody gets a graduate degree, moves from, like, for example, gets a master's degree, they will get a lane change. So we've included those in there. We've included retirements we know about, and we've included changes of positions that the board talked about. So if we know people are leaving and changing positions, we've accounted for those. Net effect is minus $86,000. Benefits is a bigger number reduction. And I'm not going to go through the details, but we look at the health care plan, and every year we get a input from our health insurance company, and they give us a maximum rate. The proposed maximum rate increase for next year will be 9.3%. If you look at last year, the proposed increase was 4.3 and actual rates decreased. So if we look at everybody we have on payroll right now, and we forecast changes in the people and the changes that they've made, maybe already in their personal packages, whether a family or an individual package, you add all those up and we come up with about $560,000 worth of forecasted reductions in benefits. Okay, big number. Next area is a big increase, $846,000, and that is primarily the result of two things. One is pupil services. Pupil services is basically the required services that we need to provide for special education kids, okay? We're required to do that, federal and state law, and this is based on known requirements, stuff that we're doing now. So for instance, when we forecast the budget, put the budget together for this year, there were things we didn't know about, but thank God we've got the capability, because we got flexibility in the budget, or we have a trust fund where we could use to cover those requirements. So now that we know about them, we have to forecast them and put them in the budget for next year. That's a big piece of the increase. The other increase is the contract for custodial services. The rates inflation's up, guys. We all know that, right? So we're feeling the effects there. Next chart. Property services, down $62,000. One of the reasons is we're not doing any significant electrical projects next year like we've done in the past years. So that results in some savings. There's some other adds like doorway replacements at some of the facilities. And also we moved one of the planned boiler replacements out of the budget and put it in the trust fund. Again, the trust funds are there to help manage the budget. And we'll be more on that later, because you're going to be asked to vote on continuation of funding the trust funds. Those are separate warrant articles. Other purchases services are up $234,000. There's been a 3% increase in the second year of a negotiated contract with the busing company. We've forecasted this year and we forecasted next year that we're going to be using go back to normal operations. Everybody knows that COVID has not been normal operations. I should also point out that the transportation contract includes the buses and the drivers. The use of the buses and the drivers, it does not include fuel. That's a separate line. And there's miscellaneous savings in phone and internet services. Total of $234,000 increase. Supplies and materials, software is up $53,000. Propane for buses, $172,000. Heating fuel, $95,000. You've all seen that in your home bills, I imagine, unless you happen to negotiate a long-term contract with your supplier. And curriculum, I changed the nomenclature here, curriculum improvement supplies, that's materials and stuff we need to continue to improve the curriculum so we can do a better job at delivering education to our students. Net of that is 461,000. Furniture equipment is up 231. We already talked in the first chart about the increase in the, we're going through a planned replacement of laptops and Chromebooks. So $195,000 increase this year. A couple years ago, the voters approved renovations to the science, the chemistry labs in the high school, and we deferred because of COVID. We deferred some of the equipment purchases, so that's $11,000. And I think we got one more slide, and this is just really it's in there because it's the slides we took were the major line items of the budget. There's detail on sub-line items, but this line item since it is a major line item, it's only $93,000, so we put it on the chart for that purpose. Pardon? What did I say, 93,000? 9,300. See, I saved money right there. Next chart. Thank you, and I guess there's no questions because there's no public in the room. But again, I can't emphasize enough, we value your participation in the community forum. Either attend in person or you can attend online, and we will be equipped to take questions online. So we want your involvement. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We have no public present, so there are no questions from the audience. So we will, and I would encourage everyone to come to the community forum on January 25th, or it will be live streamed, and we will have the ability to take your email questions. So I will close this public hearing.
You need a motion.
Oh, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.